Hi everyone, it's Lehman with Lace Covered Skies. I'm here today to do a flip through of my latest journal. This is like the fourth time I've filmed this flip through. So let's hope I get through this. I'm gonna go rather quickly. It's a really thick journal, but it's made from a children's book. Well, it's actually a book for parents about children. And it's from the 50s. I love the illustrations on the cover as well as inside some of the pages. And it was really old, so there's markings on here from age and just use. I tried to clean it up as much as I could. So I put book corners on the edges, on the corners, because it was very old. And this is how the back looks. And the spine has 5 signatures, and then I put lace over it. Also, for the first time, I made a tassel, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm gonna have to make more tassels. I learned from one of Diane Shaw from Shawcraft one of her videos. I love the way she just is so patient and shows you exactly what you have to do. And I had a lot of fun with it. So I added on some wood beads, some children's acrylic beads, and also some shabby chic beads and pearls and things like that. I wanted to make it very eclectic because this journal is very eclectic and it's feminine, but it's also whimsical. And then I added a boho bead on here, which I also learned from Diane at Shawcraft 1. This is fastened with seam binding and a hitch post fastener. All right, so let's go inside. The first thing that you see is a vintage card for a little girl. It's designed so that the feet can actually move, like it'll circle around so it looks like she's walking, but because I glued it down, it doesn't do that anymore. But it did at one time. And then behind it is a pocket. This is a page from my Betty Crocker cookbook. You can journal on the back. It's backed onto file folder. I back almost all my cards onto file folder. It does make the journal a little bit thicker, but I like the sturdiness of that. And speaking of the journal being thick, this is a very thick journal. I believe the spine is 3 inches. So because it's thick, you have to kind of work at it to get it to lay flat, but there's also lots of embellishments in here. So if those were removed while in use, then the journal would lay a lot flatter. All right, the first signature starts with a sentence strip up here so that whoever owns it could put their name up there. And this is a children's workbook page from the 50s, so it kind of goes together. I did something new in this journal. I sewed on paper a lot. There's a few times that I did this, and I really enjoyed it. I have lots of embroidery floss because I used to cross stitch, and I bought lots of them. Lots meaning like groups of them. On eBay one time, so I have like so many colors. And what I did was I picked out 3 or 4 colors, and I wanted the colors to complement each other, but also to match with the illustration. And I'm a big color person. I love finding colors that go well together in an unexpected way. And behind that, in the pocket, is a bingo card for journaling. This is a page from the book itself, and you'll see it throughout the book. I love the illustrations. I love the color. I think it's so pretty. This is from a book called The Picnic, I believe, and it was about these little girls, and they all wore bonnets, so you can't see their faces. But I think it's super adorable. Love the cream color of the paper and the pastel clothes. This is a pocket back here, and this image is from I think it was a 1970s junior high English book, and I loved the drawings in there. This is a napkin from Marshall's, and it's not vintage feeling or anything like that, but I think it's very whimsical, and I love it. I added it throughout this journal. This is a page from a really old children's poetry book. The pages are brittle and cracking, but I wanted to use it. So what I did was I colored in the picture, and then I just sewed it onto the page. So that way I could still use it without having it tear or break. Ledger paper here, math book paper here. I used a lot of math book pages in this journal. Some paper for journaling. I made cards from an old workbook, backed it onto cardstock, and then you can journal in the back. There's lots of these in here. Another thing I did in this journal was I added I added fabric tags. So I just stuck it in here with a ball pen. And there's other ones throughout the journal, and they're bigger too. So I'll show you those when we get to them. Children's book page, old workbook page. This right here, this card, is made from a learning card. So I think it was used in schools as a game. I turned it into a pocket and added some tags. More journaling space in here. This is a belly band, and there's paper I stenciled and corner punched that for extra journaling. And this is the fabric tag that I was talking about. I made a lot of these tags, and what I did was I cut it into the shape of a tag, and then I layered on lace and buttons onto a bull pin, and wherever there's fabric in the journal, I just fastened it on there. It's not really functional, it's just decorative and pretty, basically. This is the middle of the signature, and I loved this illustration. And on the strings, I just put some circles. More journaling space here, a card. Collaged on this one. This is mainly from math book paper. This flips open. This little girl is so cute. She's crying right there. This is a pocket with some more journaling space. Another thing I did in this journal was use math book paper because I like the look of it. And if I wasn't crazy about a page, I just patched it on there. And I like how it looks, but it also reinforces the paper itself. Ledger paper. This is a card, and tucked behind it is an old maid card and a flash card that I Mod Podged some tissue on. Put some lace over this and added some ribbon, and I love how the colors go together. Another of those fabric tags. Little card in here. And I did this again with the flash card and the old maid card. This is the beginning of the second signature. I used this little girl, I guess it's a doll, and I got it from this piece of fabric that had a pattern on how to make her. So it had her dress on there and all this, and instructions on how to construct the doll. And this is a picture of what the final product should look like. Underneath is a pocket and a card for journaling. And this little blurb right here, it's fabric, is a little bit of information about her. So I decided to sew it on there. Love how these colors go together right here. Another one of those sewn on poems. This poem is called The Alphabet, and inside the pocket is the illustration that goes with the poem. I love how this green ledger paper goes with this illustration here. This opens up for journaling, and I tucked a piece of paper behind there. Children's workbook page, center of the signature, and some circles on the ends of the strings. I noticed in this workbook that this student got a lot of 100%. This is a piece of acetate that I've had for a long time. It's used for scrapbooking, and so it's not really old, or you wouldn't think it goes with anything vintage. And this journal isn't super vintage. I guess it's more retro. But I used it to make a pocket that these cards go into. And I think it really goes with the collage in the back. I think the colors go well together. This flips open so you can journal on here. And there's a card in the back. I collaged onto this index card and just paper clipped it onto the page. This flips open, and this can also be a tuck spot. I love this illustration. I loved this book. They're just so cute. Workbook paper. I made a pocket out of this material. It's a little bit sheer here, and I love the detail down here. And I stuck a couple cards in there. This is the beginning of the third signature. And this is a page from the book itself. And I added some lace here that has little dangles, so it actually moves. This is sewn onto the flap of an envelope, and inside the envelope is another card. Fabric flip. This is another one of those poems that I sewed under. I sewed under some of the words, and I added some embellishment in the corner right there. And the poem is called Jack and Jill, which most of us probably know. And the picture that goes with that poem is in this pocket right here. And I added a little bit of lace and stitching under the picture. I really love sewing on paper. This is a little booklet that I made. And this here is children's dictionary paper. And there's different papers inside of it. And this is also dictionary paper, and there's paper under there. This flips open and there's lace sewn in. Math book paper. I don't know why I like just sewing over it, because this was a little boring. So I sewed in some of this and I think it makes it more interesting, and I like how it ties in the green over here. This is the middle of the third signature. It's an illustration from a Mother Goose book that I turned into an envelope, and inside the envelope is a poem that goes with that picture. This flips out. Here's a fabric flip. Here are some math book pages that I backed onto file folder again, and I turned this flashcard into a pocket, and there's more paper back here. This is a tuck spot with a piece of paper in it. This streamer material I actually got from the dollar store, and even though it's modern, I think the colors remind me of the 50s, so I used it in here. This right here is a Norman Rockwell picture, and it's not the center of the signature, but I cut the picture in half and I sewed it onto the facing pages so that you could see the whole picture. And each side of this is a pocket with journaling paper. And the last page of this signature is an image that I fussy cut out of a textbook, and I added in a couple of cards, and she is backed onto cardstock, so it's a good tuck spot, and I really like how all these colors go together here. And we are at the last signature. There's a card in here. That picture is from a really old children's book. This is a poem that I sewed lace onto, and it flips up so that you could journal on this paper underneath. And on this side, I really love this picture, and I just added some edging right there. Another flashcard pocket with a couple of cards inside. Textbook page from a math book. I love this picture. Just how they used to illustrate back then. The colors are so vibrant, and the style, I love it. Another page from an old workbook, and see, this student got 100% a lot. This is the middle of the signature for this last signature, and I just thought the picture was so pretty. It's a little Bo Peep that I wanted to really embellish it up. So I put this applique from a wedding dress, sewed it onto there, and I added some lace on the bottom and a little bit more lace in here. This is a little tuck spot in here. Paper for journaling. And this envelope is fastened on here with this paper clip. And as you can see, it's not rounded at the edge. I got these gold paper clips at Daiso, and I love them. Here's an envelope from a Mother Goose book. Well, a page that I turned into an envelope. And inside the envelope is the poem that goes with that picture. fabric flip. Here's a card tucked in right here. This is a pocket with some paper for journaling. And this, again, I added some trim that had, like, it dangles down. I think it's super girly, which really matches the illustration right here. This is the sheer pocket and an image from an old workbook backed onto ledger paper. Oh, that was the fourth signature. This is the fifth signature. All right, so we're on the last signature, and this is another one of those pages that I sewed onto. I think this is my favorite one. Love the pastel colors. And on one of the ends, sorry, this is in the way. On one of the ends, I added some butterflies onto it. So I loved doing that too. Here's a card for journaling. And here's another card for journaling. Another tuck spot. This is from an old textbook. More space for journaling. Tucked some cards in here from a map book. And this is tucked in the back. Another pocket, fabric pocket with a card tucked inside. The fabric flip right here. And another of those fabric tags. You can leave it like this, or you can turn it in for when you close the book. Another of those fabric tags. And this one was backed onto a cardstock, so I tucked it in here. And there's a card inside. This is a pocket right here. And this is a tuck spot from the bottom. And this flips out, and I sewed a little crypto card on there. This is the middle of the signature, and I just love this picture. And more circles on the strings. And here's a stamped Rolodex card. I collaged on this card. This flips open. It's a birthday card, and you can tuck something in the back there. And this is a little bag that I thought this image that I fussy cut out of a textbook matched really well, so I glued her on there. And back here is paper for journaling. This pocket has a poem inside, or a nursery rhyme. No, I think it's a poem. Maybe a nursery rhyme. And the last page of the signature opens up, and there's a little booklet in here made out of, it's not ledger paper, but it was kind of like a ledger book where they numbered the pages, but it was just lined paper. And we come to the end. All right, I hope you enjoyed this flip through, and I will talk to you next time. Bye, everyone.